Welcome to a new update. Today it's a little bit later than usual, but we are going to discuss where altcoins are at this point. Are they still a good buying opportunity? And some altcoins are showing some strength. Before we continue, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe beneath if you do enjoy the content. Unfortunately, on Thursday I couldn't provide an update, but I'll be back on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday next week with all the updates that you get from me 3 times per week. Also, join our public Discord where you can get public trade IDs every 2 weeks. The final one we've done had 6R. We've got a new one posted, so make sure to join the public Discord. Also, whitelist yourself for the course. The course is going to be available within a few weeks. So if you want to win one of those, make sure to whitelist yourself. Now, when we talk about altcoins, I think the overall consensus is that the markets are looking bad. But what do we have here? We've got a case where the markets are actually doing quite well. The Nasdaq is breaking up 2 highs. The S&P is doing quite well. They might still reverse because of the fact that we still have the federal funds rate going through the roof. We also have inflation dropping fast in Europe as gas prices are dropping. Most likely we will see the same impact in the US in a few weeks from now. We also had unemployment going up a little bit, but on the other hand, the expansion of jobs NFP has been growing more than expected, so it's a little bit conflicting, but it's all showing that there is a case of a soft landing, which is, I think it's just a fugazi, which means that gives us, and I have been mentioning this before, that gives us the actual expectation that as long as the Fed doesn't need to hike or it doesn't need to pivot, and it pauses down, or at least we get towards the end of the cycle, the markets are turning back upwards. I'm saying that for a few months. It's still the case for at least the indices, and I think Bitcoin is now finally pacing up too. So the markets are actually looking quite good at this point, and indices have been showing that. Nasdaq at new highs, S&P at new highs. Now it's time for Bitcoin and crypto to start pacing upwards still, but there's still the regulation issue, which I think is having a bullish case with Hong Kong opening up at this point. And we can see some crucial indicators that are showing us that the markets are looking quite good. So what are we looking at? We're going to look at Ether, we're going to look at Litecoin, but first we're going to look at the total altcoin market cap. And we're going to look at the Bitcoin dominance. So let's head towards the charts. Now, when we're looking at the charts, we can actually conclude that there is an important level or indicator that we have to watch if we want to see that we are currently holding up, which is we're currently holding above the 200-week MA, and we're also holding above the 200-week EMA. So these two levels are important as an indicator. We can also see that we have been wicking beneath it in March, reclaiming after showing that there is some certain buying pressure when it drops beneath. The entire, and the lights call it this 200-week MA, the 200-week MA was only lost during the period that FTX fell down, alright? In this case, we quickly reclaimed it, we tested it in March, bought back up, and now we're again testing it. And we've seen that in history, we've only had a few periods beneath it, which was extreme bear market. So in this case, that we are currently holding above it is crucial, especially if you jump back towards the total market cap, which is also currently holding a crucial level as it has been retesting the previous high. And it's currently holding there because we've got this clear indication that buyers are stepping in. And we've also got the cross here, and we've got the 200-week MA and the 200-week EMA bouncing back as support. So as long as they stay beneath us, we can conclude that the markets are eager for continuation of the upwards trend because it's a confirmation that buyers are stepping in, and it's also a strength indicator. You will see it more often when it comes to the markets, especially also with Bitcoin. That's also currently resting above the 200-week MA. If it would be losing 26k, for instance, it would be dropping beneath, and that is an indication that we're going to go lower. Additionally, for Bitcoin, there's also many people waiting for 25k to be hit at this point, but I think that 25k will not be hit because so many people are expecting it to be hit that I think that once we are getting there, we're going to nosedive through it. So in this case, the altcoins are doing quite well. So this what we're seeing here, what we wanted to see, is actually what we're getting, which is a bounce from the crucial areas of the previous resistance and a bounce from the area of the 200-week MA and EMA. So these are all indications that we are up to a continuation of the upwards trend, because we've already got an upwards trend. We've had this bear market since 2022. We have been creating this period of accumulation here, which was the lowest valuation since pretty much the all-time high of 2017, but also since December 2020. And we have reclaimed the previous low, which automatically gives us the indication that if this is the range that we are acting in, so you have got the range low at 835 and you've got the range high at 1.165T, that you're looking at deviation here, which means that if we reclaim the level, got a retest at this lower zone, most likely the trend will go to the other way. We've also seen it with Bitcoin earlier, but that's usually what happens. We've had a minor deviation here as we briefly tested the range high, but given that we've had such a structural deviation, it looks to me that we're going to break to the upside here, in which the price is going to accelerate through this entire gap, and that we're going to have a substantial rally across the market, which means that we're going to have a substantial run from 1.25 trillion, actually from this point 1.1 trillion towards 1.8 trillion, maybe even a little bit higher, but I think that that's pretty much the case at this point. Now when you're looking at Ether is showing the exact same picture here. It is definitely different in terms of the 200-week MA and the 200-week EMA, but that is completely fine. But it has been giving us a beautiful retest here. Of course, we have been taking the high here, it comes back down. We had to take the lows there, which is also fine. But at this point, as we can see, Ether is just consolidating beautifully. We've swept the lows, reclaimed the lows, and now we're looking to take these out. And once we start to take these out, I think we can start accelerating towards 2.8k. So as long as Ether stays above $1,800, I think this can actually go quite fast, in a way that it can actually start accelerating quite fast, because the more important part is that Ether against Bitcoin starts to look at a breakout as well. Especially if you look at the monthly candle, it looks quite decent, and I think there's still much more to gain. It's just barely the start of this month. But once we can continue this movement, I think that we can actually have some continuation taking place. So if it starts to crack the levels, which you can find through here, if it starts to crack these lower highs, or at least these wicks, the first one is here, I think it starts to expand quite fast, because that's where the liquidity is. Once it takes the first one, it gets an impulse move, and then it can start rallying quite fast. So we're on the edge of having one. I'm very much keen to see what's going to happen if we take out this high at 0.071. I think that once we do, we want to see expansion taking place. And if that happens, we can see the markets doing really well. Now, the final one I would like to discuss in this relatively short update is Litecoin. Litecoin is doing absolutely great too. It is on the edge of having a breakout, and I think the question is, okay, are we going to look at the halving cycle of 2019 in which we peaked months before, or are we going to look at the halving cycle in 2015 in which we rallied a few months before and peaked just a few weeks before? In this case, I think that the halving is going to take place in July, which means that we still have 6 to 8 weeks before it takes place. So I think having a very strong rally in the coming month is definitely likely if it breaks through $100. If it breaks through $100, it can take out these highs, it takes out these highs, and probably these too. So then I'm assuming that we're going to peak out around the area of 160 to $180, and I'll just show you why. If it starts to break through these levels, I think I need to have a cleaner chart though. If it starts to break through these levels, pulls out another squiggly chart. If it pulls out this high, it starts to take out these highs too. That's usually where the liquidity is, and then it continues to take out these highs. But from this high, there are a few levels of indication. I don't believe that we're going to go this high, but I think that between here is probably going to be the peak, as that's where the final liquidity lays, right? This is a pretty big gap that we need to overcome. I don't believe that we're going to go that far, but I think that peaking out here is definitely a case pre-halving. So I'm expecting us to have a run, if we take out $102, of having a run towards the area of 170 to 180. If you look at Litecoin against Bitcoin, it starts to look quite decent as well, because the crucial area is holding here. So the crucial area has been holding, all the lows have been taken. Now we're looking for consolidation taking place. So I think that if you're looking at the altcoins overall, they start to look quite well. And I think that positioning into them 1 year before the halving of Bitcoin is usually the right way to go forward. But I'll be continuing to discuss this. But I hope you have been enjoying this small update. Make sure to subscribe. I'll see you again on Tuesday. Ciao.